What? What? Bang!
Whoa! Wrestling podcast. Just when they think they got the answers, I change the question.
Rep, screw, rep.
Yeah.
Woo! Who are you to doubt El Dandy? Because this guy's a serious professional.
Can he do it?
Too hot to handle and too cold to hold. And I am Macho King Savage.
Shut your mouth, you thong-wearing fatty. I said WWE stands for... It's me, Austin. I will never retire.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hey, yo, Pro Wrestling Podcast listeners, welcome to the show where we don't sing it, we bring it. Help us out and click subscribe to show your support. If you're on YouTube, click the bell to enable notifications. And let's be honest, Odyssey, Rumble, Daily Motion, you name it, we're on there. Check us out, whatever streaming platform you use, or hop right over to Spreaker and stream our podcast right from the Spreaker app. Are you sick and tired of dropping $60 to $100 for the latest and greatest wrestling game? Stop immediately. Go to Wrestler Unstoppable, available exclusively through Facebook. Create a wrestler, sign contracts, get into storylines, headline PLEs, even build your own corporation from the ground up, all included in Wrestler Unstoppable, available now to all Facebook users, totally free. If you want to become a member of the Pro Wrestling Podcast family, you want your name in the shoutouts, like my good buddy John down in Texas. John, love giving you the shout out. Thank you so much. He's putting together some special episodes with me for the Patreon page. If you want to check out the Patreon page, patreon.com/Pro Wrestling Podcast. Sign up today for our loyalty rewards program. $15 a month contributors co-host a show with myself. $7.50 a month entered into a drawing to also co-host a live show. And as I said, John and I working on some special content coming soon to the Patreon page. Hello everybody, welcome to this episode of the Pro Wrestling Podcast. If you've got questions, comments, something you want me to touch on in a future episode, drop us a line. Call us, Pro Wrestling Sound Off line 267-642-1160, and we will get to those questions or comments in a future episode. Lots of stuff to get to. Got to start where it makes the most sense. WWE Raw last night on Netflix. July 7th episode. Good show top to bottom, if you ask me. A lot of stuff covered, a lot of ground. Really trying to build some excitement for the weekend shows, which are going to be jam-packed. I love the fact that they start the show with the whole Seth Rollins, Bronson Reed, Braun Breaker, Paul Heyman segment, where as Rollins goes to take the microphone, Braun Breaker just snags it from in front of him and goes into business for himself. Obviously, we all know somewhere down the line, Braun Breaker is going to turn on Seth Rollins. I don't think we're anywhere close to it yet. What I think we had last night was the seeds, and we need those seeds, and we need to sprinkle those over the next several months because we have a lot of things to get to in the next several months. They're going to be very, very relevant. I do think that whenever that does happen, because it's very clear to me it will, that when Braun Breaker breaks away from Seth Rollins, Braun becomes the heel and keeps Paul Heyman. I think that is essential for the growth of his character. Seth Rollins never really needed a speaking piece anyways. He cuts a great promo on his own. Bronson Reed, he actually does a pretty good promo himself. Not that Braun does not. I just think that Heyman adds a layer to Braun that he doesn't necessarily bring quite yet. At some point, I'm sure he will, but not quite yet. They basically go through, all three of them are in action on the show, and we're going to see how they supposedly are going to eliminate various people from contention as the show continues. The first match of the night, we get Roxanne Perez versus Kairi Sane. This is on the heels of a backstage segment where we have a whole shrine to Liv Morgan, who it almost looks like she died. Which is not the case. And then we have a really corny part where, like, Dominic Mysterio is thanking the Judgment Day, Finn Balor and JD McDonough for a cake, which was not given to him by them. It was given by AJ Styles, who does that finger eye thing that I do with my students in my classroom. And it leads to the match leading up to Roxanne Perez versus Kairi Sane with Raquel Rodriguez at ringside. The match itself pretty solid. Love that Kairi Sane's been picking up a lot of wins lately. I feel like that's something she didn't get for a very long time and now is starting to get some of that. The match was solid, back and forth, constant action, but that's not the important part about the match. The important part is after, I hear Simon Miller online, whether it's on What Culture on his own channel all the time, saying the most powerful move in all of wrestling, the small package or the quick roll-up. It's exactly how it goes here. We get the quick roll-up win. Kairi Sane wins. But then after the match, there's the beatdown from Perez and Rodriguez, leading to what I think most people saw coming. Asuka's return to help her friend, the Kabuki Warriors reuniting, taking out Raquel and Roxanne, and them eventually going in the back and talking to Adam Pearce about being added to the Women's Tag Team Championship match as the Kabuki Warriors at Evolution 2, which I think is fantastic. We don't have to have another meaningless match on Raw. I was just saying on the SmackDown review how much it frustrates me that you did the Charlotte Flair-Alexa Bliss match when you put them against the Her Service and you knew they weren't going to win, and against a makeshift team of B-Fab and Michin. I don't need that. I like straight storytelling. Don't waste my time, and that's what I felt like this was. They go into a whole storyline of what's going on with Sami Zayn carrying Cross. He ends up getting, as Zayn is walking to the ring with his taped up ribs, carrying Cross again attacks him, blindsides him, hits him with the pipe in the ribs again. Pierce comes out acting like he can't stop these things from happening. There's this awkward moment where they're talking to Sami Zayn about whether he can or cannot wrestle. Now, I don't know about you guys, but one of the things that really drives me insane about WWE is how their stories just don't make sense from one storyline in one pairing to another, or even across time. Any general manager in the past, when they have an injured wrestler, can say, you're not cleared to compete, this match is not going to happen, and they bring somebody else out. They don't do this. It's very obvious from the tape ribs beforehand, then the pipe hit, that he was not going to be able to go. It was difficult for him to go when he's at full health against Braun Breaker. Now he's going to have double rib injuries and somehow be able to compete. It doesn't make a lot of sense when you think about how matches have been booked historically in WWE. Braun Breaker, this is a glorified squash match. Couples high spots for Sami Zayn. Nothing to write home about. There was a cool move off the turnbuckle, which is cool. But otherwise, just not a lot of offense from Sami Zayn. And in storyline, they talk about how he's going to be out for the foreseeable future, which is good. Take him off TV. It's leading to what I think is going to happen, or you could go with what some of the other media outlets are talking about. I've seen some networks, What Culture Today, hypothesizing we're going to see Sami Zayn and Jey Uso against the Bronze. I've seen other conversations about what they're going to do and how they're going to lead into other matches. Later on in the episode, I will get into what I think they should do going forward, but for now, we'll keep it moving. We do get to a segment where we get to hear from Becky Lynch. Eventually, we have Bayley start to walk out, and Lyra Valkyria walks by and just kind of blows past Bayley to get in the ring. Look, I don't know who the baby face is supposed to be in this match. I guess maybe Bayley and Lyra are supposed to be, but they clearly are both treading on heelish waters and heelish tendencies. And the fact that Lyra is still complaining about her belt and everything else after she was beaten, had to raise Becky's hand, it's almost coming off as a whining, complaining character, which I'm not a big fan of. But I do think that the two megastars here, being Bayley and Becky, have put Lyra on the map as being a legitimate threat to the championship and someone who belongs in the ring with them. So I do like that. The Bayley line where she doesn't need friends, she doesn't need this, that, and the other, all she needs is the belt. I thought it was interesting to hear Lyra then come back at her about that's all that matters to her and that she sounds a lot like Becky. It kind of gave Bayley a heelish side to what she's doing, and I like it. I like the interplay. I thought it was a little clunky, the swing by Valkyria missing Bayley, hitting Becky. I thought that was a little clunky, but I did like that Lyra stood tall at the end. I thought that was exactly what they need to do ahead of the pay-per-view, but oftentimes in WWE booking, it makes it seem as though that's the person who's going to take the fall at the pay-per-view. So we're going to have to wait and see. I'm not sure how that's going to play. I'm not sure what their plan is going forward all the way to SummerSlam. Little surprised they rushed this for Evolution, but when you don't announce any other matches, it kind of makes sense. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. Then we get the Jey Uso, Bronson Reed. I don't care champion or not champion. Jey Uso's entrance is still the best in the business right now. Everybody loves the guy. He really does have his place. He's earned the name Main Event Jey Uso. Getting in there with Bronson Reed, who made it clear earlier in the night he didn't care about the wins and losses. He cared about hurting Jey Uso and taking him out. That's kind of exactly what we got. We got the back and forth, super kicks, all that kind of fun stuff, but leading to a moment where Bronson Reed picks up a office chair outside the ring and just throws it at Jey Uso, leading to a disqualification, which I find interesting also, because if that happened in certain other matches, that wouldn't be a disqualification. That's what I mean. It's hard to keep up sometime with what is and what isn't, and why WWE does what they do, and it makes it so there's no continuity. So that being said, it's a disqualification. He hits a couple tsunamis, which again is probably designed to write Jey Uso off of TV. At the very, well, I'll get to that later. I have some reactions to that, but it kind of goes along with the third match, so we'll get to that a little bit later. We get the hilarious moment with El Grande Americano versus Dragon Lee. Earlier in the show, American Alpha shocked that they're booking El Grande Americano in a match because, as one of them says, I think it's Brutus, I always mix the two up, says that's not possible because Chad Gable's not here, and acting like he doesn't realize what he's saying. And then, as we all can tell and knew ahead of time, this is going to be Ludwig Kaiser under the El Grande Americano mask. I thought it was hilarious that they kept referencing and implying things on commentary, which it almost comes off cartoonish. We all know what's going on. I don't need them to play into it like they're that oblivious. It makes them seem less knowledgeable than I think at this point they've earned being. I do like that they didn't clean beat Dragon Lee. I think he needed to be held in his current position, and by beating him clean, that would have been a problem. Using the loaded mask, that works to keep furthering things. I have no idea where that whole story is supposed to go, but I'm anxious to see, and who's going to be the good guy eventually, Chad Gable or Ludwig Kaiser, or neither, or both, or I don't even know. It should be interesting. We get what I think is the big highlight of the night. Gunther comes out to cut his promo, talking trash about how Goldberg he's been trash talking him for 2 weeks. He hasn't shown up because he's scared, and that brings the sound of a screeching car tires. We see a muscle car, and I'm horrible with cars, I apologize, but a beautiful orange muscle car rolls in the back, spinning its tires. The only thing I have a problem with this is, it's like, and I heard this on Simon Miller again, was talking about this earlier today, what was he doing? Was he just cruising around the arena in his car and was listening to it on his phone and was like, hey, he's talking about me, and then pulled into the parking lot? It doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't think we need the pulling up in the car. I think if he's going to be on the show, advertise it. And we don't need the car part. It makes it seem nonsensical. But on the flip side, for all the people out there, and I've just got to be honest here, I've heard so many people talk about how they don't want to see Goldberg wrestle anymore and all this other stuff. You cannot deny that the reaction to Goldberg pulling up was awesome. Him stepping out of the car was awesome. And when the music hit, that place erupted. And the Goldberg chants were just awesome. And then when he comes out, doesn't do his normal kicking, punching, and all that stuff coming through the fireworks. He just walks straight to the ring, straight into Gunther's face. He points in his face, tells him they're going to do this right now. He offers for him to take a shot. Well, Gunther actually holds up the microphone. He smacks that out of his hand, tells him to take a shot. Gunther tries. He blocks it, retaliates with a shot of his own, taking Gunther down. The only physicality we've really had from Goldberg so far in this feud. Almost sets him up for a spear, and he rolls out of the ring. This is exactly what it needed to be. Now, I am so tired of hearing people complain about how Goldberg was heavy breathing already just from coming out and throwing one punch. If you haven't stepped in a ring, if you haven't heard that ovation, you don't know what it does to your adrenaline. Look, I'm not a seasoned pro, but I've had wrestling matches myself, and I'm telling you right now, you sweat like a stuck pig when that adrenaline kicks in because those people want to see you so bad. And I've only done that on the local level at my school that I teach in. And those kids, the emotion I felt when they do that, yes, you start sweating like you wouldn't believe. And you know what? I don't care. The reaction from the fans tells me the chance of this is awesome and holy S and everything else, that's real. So all the online people who want to complain about this whole Goldberg situation, look, I get it. I don't really want him in the world title picture either. I would have rather Seth Rollins cashed in on Jey Uso after he beat Gunther and retained his title. I would have rather that would have been your way of getting the belt off of Jey and had Gunther and Goldberg with no title on the line. I've said that a million times, because then you could have led to, I'm not sure who's going to win. As I've said before, when you have this as a world championship match and it's a retirement match, unless he's going to turn into a heel like John Cena and take the championship with him when he retires, then this match makes no sense to be a world championship match. He cannot possibly win. I like how they tried to cover that with the whole Michael Cole angle with, it makes an interesting quandary. No, it doesn't. It's blaringly obvious. This is going to be a relatively short match, I believe, and Goldberg's going to probably end up tapping out, which makes a lot of sense, protects his character a bit. You could even have some shenanigans go on. I would love to see Goldberg after I think he'll lose the match at Saturday Night's Main Event, but afterwards Gunther talks some trash, not want to shake his hand, disrespect him, have Goldberg hit 2, 3, 4 spears, maybe a jackhammer if he can get him up, and then when he leaves the ring, Seth cash in right then and there on Gunther. That would be money to me. Because you could set up a situation where Gunther wants a rematch, Punk still wants Seth, and Gunther and CM Punk could face off at SummerSlam. Seth Rollins, I'll get to a little bit later, has something else in my mind planned for SummerSlam. And that way, the winner there could go on to face Seth Rollins later, which would probably be CM Punk, because you need Gunther for something else I'll get into later. I just think it makes a lot of sense. We'll get back to why in just a moment. So, back to the action. Seth Rollins comes out. He's going to face Penta in our main event. Honestly, this is one I never had on my bingo card maybe 2-3 years ago. Now, loving the fact that we're getting to see it. I just wish they had more time. I get it. It's a television show, and you had to keep it short. But I would have loved to see these two get 25 minutes to really tell a story. Seth Rollins, an awkward spot at the end where, Penta's about to pick him up for a finishing hold, and he, brings his head up into his groin and then turns it into a stomp for the win. I'm fine with all that. I love the LA Knight interference at the end, coming out and hitting his move on Seth Rollins and then escaping through the crowd. I love all of that. For me, I think the LA Knight thing is a detour for Seth just to get him to the next pay-per-view. And if I was booking, now I'm going to bring all my plans together for you so you understand my mad scientist ways for why I'm doing everything I'm doing. If you lay things out the way I just did, I think SummerSlam, you see Gunther versus Punk to be the number one contender for the World Heavyweight Championship. I love that idea. I don't really want to beat either one. I don't want it to be obvious one of them has to lose. And with no belt on the line, we won't know who's going to win. I like that. When it comes to Seth Rollins should pair with the Bronze to take on Sami Zayn and Jey Uso and the returning OTC Roman Reigns. It should be a 6-man match, their faction against the Bloodline. That's what they should do at SummerSlam. And the reason I'm in fantasy booking all of that is to say that I believe at the end of the year, what would be phenomenal, wrapping up this Raw's concepts and everything else, what ties into that is the news that came out today that during an interview with Gunther, they had a conversation and asked him about whether or not he would be interested in facing John Cena on this retirement tour. On the Masked Man show, he discussed the possibility and he would like the match. Now, follow me on this. If we are indeed going to turn Cena back to being babyface at some point, and if Cody is not taking the title from him at SummerSlam, you could go into the end of the year. John Cena's final match has the opportunity to catapult somebody into the stratosphere. Could you do it with Jey Uso? Absolutely. I've mentioned before, they have the history of the Royal Rumble pushing him out. Could you do it with Cody? Yes, you could use it as the opportunity to double turn and turn Cody heel. I like that too. But I never really thought about it until I saw this put out there. His exact quote says, yeah, if the opportunity would be there, it would be great. I think he's very busy with what he's doing now. Maybe towards the end of the year, if he finds his old self or something, if it's going to happen this year, I don't know. I think it will be a very exciting matchup, one of the purest baby faces there are. And yeah, I would love the scenario of me being me and the struggling pure babyface John Cena. And you know what? After hearing that, I love that idea too. Let John Cena turn face again. Let him face Gunther in his final match and put Gunther over, going out as a good guy, getting the last hurrah, and really solidifying Gunther at the top of the card. That being said, let's get into all the other news for today. They announced on the show Nikki Bella had a vignette where she's entering the Battle Royal at Evolution 2. Look, I got people who are upset because some of these premium stars aren't in bigger matches. You know how Triple H has been booking all the pay-per-views, not just Evolution 2. People keep acting like it's just they don't care about Evolution thing. That's not the case. In all of the pay-per-views lately, they're about 5 matches long. Last night, they announced many things for the card. I think they bobbled one, but they announced many things for the card. Nikki Bella was supposed to be in a premium program with Liv Morgan. Maybe a tag match, maybe singles, don't know, doesn't matter. At this point, you got to do something of substance with her. And the word is she's not leaving WWE anytime soon. So if that's the case, she legitimately could win this thing. Now, I think it's going to be Stephanie Vaquer. I really do. They also announced she'll be in the Battle Royal. And many other people will be in that Battle Royal. But I think this is exactly what you needed to do to give her something of substance. She'll probably be one of the last people in the ring, which makes sense. and then maybe we see her, take on a different feud with whoever she's in. If she goes out second to last, maybe third to last, we'll have to wait and see. But I will be anxious to see how that all plays out, because I think it is a great opportunity to kind of put a Band-Aid on everything they've done with this pay-per-view, because they've botched it quite a bit. Let's be honest. Think about the Rhea Ripley, Io Sky situation. I love the video package. I think that was fantastic. I just don't understand why your women's world champion hasn't been on TV more. Why Rhea Ripley wasn't actually on the show in a major situation. That should have been a go-to thing on a go-home episode, but it wasn't. That to me is a problem. You're heading into the women's only pay-per-view, and your women's champion's not even on the show. Absolutely messed up. Throw in when you think about all that, then think about the fact that you also have the tag team match where you have NXT literally the next night. And instead of waiting till NXT to talk about anything to do with the girls who are going to be participating from NXT, you have Michael Cole kind of give away that Sol Roca and Felka are going to be the ones who battle. I'm sorry, Zari. I always mix those two up. That they're going to be the one battling for NXT. Why? That should have been an angle on NXT. Instead, you've kind of cut your nose off to spite your face. I don't like the way they've handled the pay-per-view. It's like they went into it with no plans whatsoever. I think that's a terrible, terrible, terrible idea. But, it is what it is. Let's get into some other lady stuff. Tamina Snuka has been in the news lately. People wondering what her status is. Apparently, she is still under contract. We haven't seen her since 2023. But there's no plans for her. She's not on any of the active roster lists. She did post some stuff about a week ago on social media, so she's obviously still out there with a pulse, but just has not done anything with WWE since. And that, look, I don't know whether if she's done, that's fine. I get it, but you gotta figure out what you're doing with people. You're paying a paycheck, and a company that promised that they don't sign people just to bench people, and they have people like her or Tyler Bate. I saw What Culture was talking about Tyler Bate is essentially benched. He's been posting on Instagram that he's healthy and he's just waiting. Why? Why is somebody that talented when you have such a horrible tag team division? Why are he and Pete Dunne not featured all the time on the main roster as challengers for the World Tag Team Championship to give them something of substance to do? Instead, we're going to recycle the New Day and the War Raiders, who've been battling for the last 4 months. It's boring. This could be a different team, but we don't do that. I just don't know. I think if Tamina still is on the roster, use her. If not, move on. Make an official announcement, move on. But definitely not a big fan of how they're handling that particular situation. Also related to obviously the women's side of things, but also related to Evolution 2, Michelle McCool posting on X that her phone hasn't rang. Talk about somebody who's ready to go, actively helping with LFG, who's clearly in great shape and could go, not even being approached. That's kind of shocking to me, because it seems like such an easy one. You know what I mean? It's a no-brainer. We'll have to wait and see if she may be a surprise entrant in that same Battle Royal. Can't fit everybody on the card. I suspect some NXT talent and obviously Raw and SmackDown talent. Do we see something from maybe Evolve or from LFG? One of those stars show up in the Battle Royal. We'll have to wait and see. I did want to give a shout out to a tweet from Booker T talking about Natty, who, if you haven't paid attention, even though she's still on the main roster for WWE, she was at the Crockett Cup for the NWA. She was at Bloodsport earlier in the year, and now she's been down at Reality of Wrestling with Booker T, had her first match for him, and he said it's his first 5-star match in his promotion, her match there, and you gotta love that. Absolutely love that. And the fact that WWE is letting her go off and do some other things, trying to really, I don't want to say maximize her time she has left in the ring, but there's some things she probably wanted to check off her bucket list and hasn't really been able to do that as much. It's exciting to see that she is starting to get some of that. I think our last tidbit of women's news, Charlotte Flair in the news. She was having an interview. I'm trying to think who the heck the interview was with. Players Tribune. She was with Players Tribune having a conversation about the women's 4 horsemen, and she said, "We've definitely had our ups and downs over the years. I won't pretend we're best friends or that we're all even friends at the moment. I won't pretend there's a 4 horsewoman group. chat I'll send this article to when it publishes, and think about it that way. It does make me sad sometimes, but I also think it's part of life, especially at the highest levels of professional competition. She goes on to say, and on a professional level, the respect between the four of us is absolute, and the bonds that we share are effing indestructible. There's not another person alive who knows what we went through as a group or what it's taken for all of us to still be active and to still be at the top of our games. As women working in the business, that's still learning how to treat women. And I love the fact that she didn't trash anybody. She made it seem like she actually genuinely would really love to be, closer to them. It's just not in the cards right now. But it is nice to see that there was some conversation about the Four Horsewomen, and that at least I see that as an opportunity for down the line for maybe there to be some reconciliation. Maybe they get to do something. Obviously not right now with Mercedes Moné over in AEW, but who knows down the line what happens. Other WWE news, let's get into that. AAA in the news. There's been some question as to what the status of Chavo Guerrero has been. He was a part of WWE AAA Worlds Collide, and apparently he has been very clear. Fightful Select reporting that he has been telling people that he is a part of WWE, that he is helping with production of some kind, that he is signed to a contract. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But he has been active. He was in AAA. He partnered with Magno and Matt Riddle to take on Alberto El Patron, Cinta de Oro, and Samurai del Sol, which used to be Kalisto in WWE, last August. Before that, he was at a couple shows in 2016, so he doesn't do as much active wrestling, but he does do a lot of the backstage planning stuff. Now, keeping in mind, he also has a career in Hollywood where he does stunts and things of that nature. So, but according to Fightful, his appearance at Worlds Collide may not be a simple one-off. They're told that sources say that he is back in WWE in an official capacity. They didn't say how, but they had not, and they also hadn't received confirmation from Chavo Guerrero's team. But that would be a huge get for WWE because I think he has a lot more to offer than what he has ever given credit for. I think he really is fantastic at everything he does in terms of planning matches, the psychology, the stuff he's done with Glow and other productions and promotions, AAA, CMLL, any of that stuff. Fantastic. Mariah May, now that she's moved over and become Blake Monroe in NXT, apparently, according to Fightful Select, she is already being discussed for a heel turn within NXT. I find that shocking. If you're going to do that, you should have just debuted her as a heel. I don't understand bringing her as a face, flipping her heel so quickly. Maybe it's down the line a couple months, but clearly Fightful Select reporting again that they feel that this is going to be the path forward, that she's going to turn at some point. Not a big fan of the idea, really not. I actually think she should be in the Battle Royal at Evolution. You want to showcase all of your biggest, brightest, and best stars in the female division across all your brands. How could you not put her in there after being such a big signing recently? But, no word on that yet. Maybe we'll get that tonight when we go to the NXT show. Another word coming out today, that WWE is interested in a top CMLL Star, even though they're purchasing AAA and that partnership and whatnot. They have their eyes on Mascara Dorada, a longtime luchador in Mexico. Fantastic in-ring work. He really, even though you would think they would focus their energies on retaining these AAA talents and really honing that brand, it sounds like they've already had not anything overly official, but certainly have had internal discussions about people they would want to bring in, and that's a name that has come up. So no, not right now. Don't know when the contract comes due, but at least putting this into the news, sneaking this out to reporters is a great way for them to get the word out there to him that they're interested, so that when his contract is coming due, maybe he gets the wheels turning about, hey, maybe I need to talk to those guys, see what they have to offer me. Not sure what'll happen in the near future, but we'll have to wait and see. Dave Meltzer, let's shift gears from WWE a little bit. Dave Meltzer put out on the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter conversation that the paid attendance for All In Texas is on course to being the largest gate and highest paid attendance in North American history for a non-WWE show. It's technically accurate. Right now they're looking at 2.5 million has been generated. They have paid tickets for 20,799 sold, which breaks the 1999 WCW Slamboree attendance figure, which was 20,516. But the odd thing about that is that about a third of them were paid to get there. But the gate that everybody was praying for was a $3 million gate for this pay-per-view. Meltzer does not believe that's going to happen. And the reason that number is such a big deal, back in 1911, in his report, they talk about this. Wrestling Inc. also does the same conversation. The Frank Gotch versus George Hackenschmidt match. If you don't know those names, look them up. Super important match in the history of wrestling. 1911, when you adjust for inflation, the gate for that show, they generated between $2.94 and $3.33 million. I think AEW was really hoping to exceed that 3.33 just to, take away any question. But keeping in mind, I said technically, that's adjusted for inflation. The actual dollars were obviously significantly less because money was worth less back in 1911. But I think they really wanted to get the equivalency thing out of the way and just be the top drawing show in a significant amount of time, And, I don't think they're going to get there either. But this is still a huge win for them. Huge gate. Congrats to AEW. IWGP champion Zack Sabre Jr. People have speculated that maybe the injury to Hiroki Goto is why he won the IWGP Championship. And now, if you go in and Dave Meltzer has a report out on the newsletter talking about how he was scheduled to win the belt from Goto for quite a long time now, regardless of the injury to Goto. It turns out that the Tanahashi Jam show was chosen for the title change for a couple reasons. One, it was at the Dolphins Arena, which is the second most famous wrestling venue in Japan outside of Tokyo, and it's going to be shutting down in a couple weeks. It's going to be replaced by the I believe it's the IG Arena, which will become the main arena in Nagoya. So they wanted to do something really impactful there, and they wanted to do something big for their TV special. Remember, this was a show that you could not get in North America, so it makes it very special for them. So this is not just because Goto got hurt. This is something they've had planned for quite a while. And it sounds like it was a colossal success. Over 4,500 tickets were sold, which is a great win for them. So we'll have to see if they do any more of those in the future, these exclusive events, similar to what some other companies have done. WWE, jumping to them for one last thing for them for the day. I love that word is that they're finally getting the message from the fans who are upset with Def Rebel producing music for their superstars. Let's be honest, their stuff sounds like it comes out of Suno AI, and I know that because I use Suno AI. It's exactly what their songs sound like, and a lot of people are upset with that. But now it sounds like they are making a concerted effort to do two things. One, partner with much more mainstream musicians to produce music for their talent, and to make music with those individuals that they are able to copyright and retain the ownership of, which, that's a big part of why Jordan Grace's music had to be changed and Braun Breaker. So it's interesting that they're finally listening. The fans have hated the Def Rebel stuff for quite a long time, and we'll have to see how that plays out over the next several years, of how these mainstream artists come in and get an opportunity to work with WWE and create some of that entrance music for the wrestlers. And the last thing for today, Tony Khan having a conversation about Ring of Honor and whether or not it would be advantageous to rebrand the company while they're trying to find a media rights deal. Tony Khan, his exact quote says, "I still think there's great chance to develop Ring of Honor. And we really have done a lot of work to develop Ring of Honor. They're AEW and Ring of Honor unique companies structurally. I think that does make a lot of sense. I still think there's merit to that, but there's a lot of reasons why I've positioned it that the way I have. Ring of Honor, I still think we have a chance to strike at great opportunities." It says AEW has made huge media rights deals that have changed the landscape for all of wrestling companies, including Ring of Honor, and any deal we do, it's got to make really good sense for everyone involved, including us at Ring of Honor, but also AEW. So that's something I've considered right now, and here's the key part. I think we've done a great job positioning the company as the leaders and leading champions like Athena and Bandito. So it sounds like he wants to keep the branding of Ring of Honor pretty much as it is now, as he doesn't see there a need to rebrand, which is great, because if you're a classic Ring of Honor fan, you don't really want to see them change much, but you do want to see them get the distribution deal. And that's right now, you got to go to YouTube to watch that kind of stuff. It'd be great to see them on a network. That's all the time we have for this episode. Check back with us next episode. We'll run down the latest wrestling news and rumors. Special thanks, as always, to Suno AI for generating the music in our shows. Today's podcast, sponsored in part by Beazle Games. Bring a new friend to family game night. It's easy with Sketchy people. Showcase your artistic side in this game from Beazle Games by going to thegamecrafter.com and pick up your copy today. If you're looking for your next career move, maybe you're considering college or university life, maybe you just need some formal training for your next career decision, go to our website, frolifeplanning.com, for all your higher education needs, as Fro Life Educational Planning is for today, for tomorrow, and for life with Fro Life. I'm Fred Froelich, better known as Dr. Fro. I want to thank you for taking some time with us today. Until next time, take care, everybody. Have a good one.
Crossing the